Hi, this is I'll Explain. This time I will explain the Full Armor Gundam 7th. Full Armor Gundam 7th, model number FA-78-3, is the product of Federation's FSWS project that was not finished before the one-year war ended. As its name suggests, Full Armor Gundam 7th is the Gundam Unit 7 or Type 7 RX-78-7 with full armor upgrades. It is also the third type of SWS upgrade that the program came up with. That's why the model number is FA-78-3. While FSWS units only saw limited service in the war, Federation would integrate the development of full armor package with Gundam development ever since. So, Full Armor Gundam 7th is sometimes called the swan song of FSWS project. We had talked about how there were 8 RX-78 built in Jaburo, and the Federation used them to explore different concepts on the development of Gundam. The 7th unit went on to become Type 7, has its original armor replaced with a new set with integrated hardpoints to mount and operate with full armor packages. This is the third plan of FSWS, where the first plan is to have full armor package mounted and work with existing Gundam designs. And the second plan is to replace RX-78 armor with the full armor package directly. To recap, FA-78-1 is based on RX-78-2. FA-78-2 overhaul RX-78 from head to toe and become its own type of RX-78. And FA-78-3 is based on RX-78-7. You can imagine the stern feedback from logistics and armorers. So it is not a surprise that after the one-year war, the Federation adopted NT1 style of designating full armor mobile suits. Just replace the RX prefix with FA. Although sometimes they would add the FA as a suffix instead, but either way, it is much easier to track down the base mobile suit used compared to the original FSWS designation. Back to Gundam 7th. While by itself it is just a RX-78, it did get upgraded to NT1 standard with magnetic coating, full dome monitor cockpit, improved cooling system and reactor as its development extended after the war. While the war ended so there was no urgency for the Federation to deploy Gundam 7th, the Federation had learned their lessons and would continue mobile suit development during peacetime. Like we have mentioned, Federation decided to integrate the development of full armor package with Gundam themselves. So Gundam 7th, being a project all about integrating full armor package in its development, received continued support. We should talk a bit more about the FSWS project and the concept of full armor before we talk about Full Armor Gundam 7th in detail. FSWS is short for Full Armor System and Weapon System. The project aims to increase the combat capabilities of RX-78 Gundam to match that of a destroyer ship, with extra armor and weapons. This decision was made more or less because Federation High Command at the time still had poor understanding of mobile suits. But the Army and Space Force welcomed the decision nonetheless, because they recognized the potential of the project. For the Army and Space Force, they envisioned FSWS allowing mobile suits to deploy with their destroyer-class firepower, then later detach those weapons to fight in close range, effectively providing their own fire support. However, with the extra armor and weapon loaded on the Gundam, its mobility goes down, and the Federation decided to go all in, install extra thrusters and RPG motors to compensate for the increased weight. By the time the upgrade package used to turn RX-78-2 into FA-78-1 was developed, all the weapons and thrusters had merged with the armor. Hence the package was simply known as Full Armor onward. Gundam with full armor sets like FA-78-1 or FA-78-3 weighs in 50% more than their RX counterpart. Since Gundam 7 is developed along with its full armor set, its full armor set saved a lot of weight from having integrated fixtures, allowing it to include more thrusters and RPG motors, keeping its thrust-to-weight ratio close to that of RX-78-2, despite it has practically twice the armor thickness and nearly 3 times the firepower. The reason FA-78-3 went back to having full armor applied on top of Gundam 7 is because of the redundancy and technical flexibility it provides. Like we mentioned, the Army and Space Force envisioned the full armor Gundams to provide their own fire support. So once their covering firepower has been deployed, they should shed the full armor and fight as RX-78 in close range. Alternatively, they can replace the gun cannon and gun tanks with full armor Gundams, streamlining their mobile suit production. Although the Federation was not lacking in manufacturing capabilities, so the likely scenario would be giving Gundams the option to fight with extra firepower and armor for specific missions. As for redundancy, the full armor can be shredded as individual sections, like just the forearm or chest. This allowed the pilot to only purge damaged parts, and the full armor is capable of taking crippling damage in place of the Gundam underneath. This allows full armor Gundams to take a lot of damage while still fighting as a fully functional mobile suit. In most extreme cases, the full armor could be destroyed, but leaving the Gundam underneath practically unharmed. Now, this G-frame only recreates full armor Gundam 7 with its full armor on. It also does not include all the weapons available to full armor Gundam 7, but like all full armor Gundam, it is fully armed even with empty hands. Starting from the head, full armor Gundam 7 head is just the head of Gundam 7. With the improved cooling system in the body, Gundam 7 replaced its head radiator with more optical sensors. Otherwise, it is pretty much the same as every other RX-78, with an optical sensor on top, V-shaped antennas, pair of Vulcans, pair of main optics, face mask covering multi-spectrum sensors, and red transceiver chin. Full armor Gundam 7's body has applique armor over the chest, the cockpit, and even the waist because of the weight saving we have mentioned. The exhaust connects to the Gundam 7's exhaust, but points the airway downward to reduce exposure. Like we have talked about in Gundam 7's development, the internals are upgraded to NT1 standard with full dome monitor cockpit that doubles as an escape pod if full armor set isn't protective enough already. Full armor Gundam 7 skirts also receive applique armor, since the hip is rather important part of the mobile suit, keeping their legs in place. This applique armor also fitted with RPG motors and thrusters, providing full armor Gundam 7 additional mobility despite the extra weight. Full armor Gundam 7's thighs have no applique armor, to maintain the movement range of the thighs. Moreover, the applique armor on the skirts and knees already cover them reasonably well. The lower legs on the other hand are covered by applique armor, with large thrusters and RPG motors all over. Note these thrusters are mostly fan type, that full armor Gundam 7 can use to hover on the ground, giving it surprisingly high mobility despite its heavy armor and arms. Full armor Gundam 7's feet also get applique armor for maintaining ground pressure and compensate for wear from extra weight. Full armor Gundam 7's arms somewhat resemble those of Gundam Unit 5 boosters, thanks for the latter being completed before Full armor Gundam 7 did. Although unlike Gundam Unit 5 boosted, these shoulder thrusters and forearm weapon ports are part of the applique armor, so they can be shredded on the battlefield depending on the situation. The weapon ports are designed to house twin grenade launchers or twin beam spray guns, although it is very hard to tell which is which because they are supposed to be fully compatible and use the same cover. Full Armor Gundam 7's backpack is mostly the same as Gundam 7's, with the following full armor parts attached to it: dorsal long-distance beam cannon, auxiliary targeting system, and multi-spectrum sensor binder. This is done because this allows the backpack to fully utilize its internal volume. That's why it can fit a lot more thrusters than other RX-78 or FA-78. It also maximizes the Minovsky particle condenser in size, so it can be used to recharge the two beam sabers and the dorsal long-distance beam cannon. The auxiliary targeting system is added for the extra weapons added with the full armor, working in tandem with Gundam 7's own targeting system, allowing the full armor Gundam 7 to engage targets for every weapon. The multi-spectrum sensor binder is added mainly to balance the mass of the dorsal long-distance beam cannon. It also improves the full armor Gundam 7's situation awareness and accuracy with extra layer of targeting information. In addition to the backpack, Full Armor Gundam 7 also sports a tail stabilizer on its rear skirt. The tail stabilizer is so named because it is practically a tail, providing an extra limb for Full Armor Gundam 7 to operate with MBAC system, making Full Armor Gundam 7 more agile. In addition, the tail stabilizer functions as auxiliary propellant tanks and has its own RPG motors. Full Armor Gundam 7 is armed to the teeth to say the least, even on this G-frame with empty hands. Head falcons, beam sabers, missile port on either side of the collar, weapon ports on the forearms, missile ports on the side of the lower legs, and the dorsal long-distance beam cannon. The head falcons and beam sabers are standard Federation spec, so we will skip them here, or you can watch my other videos about them. The missile ports on either side of the collar and the side of the lower legs are independent that can be shredded on their own. They can be loaded with different sizes of missiles depending on the situation, including micro missiles to cluster missiles. The missiles can be guided with infrared, laser, heat seeker, or even optics, and loaded with basically any warhead other than nuclear. The forearm weapon ports are more interesting. The twin grenade launcher is simple because grenades have relatively heavier payload. Their reduced range compared to the missiles is not a problem for mobile suits, which are meant to fight at close range. The option for twin spray gun is because the Federation recognized how potent they are in close range. Sure, the Federation built the beam spray gun to save production costs and replace it with beam guns and 90mm machine guns before they were fully deployed. But with a lot of ace pilots tended to keep theirs along with the replacement weapon, that is because the beam spray gun is built for rapid firing and very compact, allowing it to be used in enclosed space or even grappling range. In addition, because the beam spray gun itself is just a base module for a multitude of beam guns, the pilots can manually adjust the output of the beam spray gun, where veteran pilots often do to deal with particularly heavy armored targets or for extended range. Having a pair of them in the forearm would provide Full Armor Gundam 7 overwhelming firepower at close range and grappling range. That can be adjusted to be used in medium range. This is before we talk about how the twin grenade launcher and twin beam spray guns are interchangeable, so Full Armor Gundam 7 can arm with one of each or doubling up, like using two twin grenade launchers for clearing Zeon guerrilla forces base, or two twin beam spray guns when intercepting Zeon Remnant mobile suit teams. The dorsal long-distance beam cannon is actually an oversized beam rifle. The specification for the dorsal long-distance beam cannon is simple: double the range and output of RX-78 beam rifle, while keeping the rate of fire and amount of ready shots the same. With all the weight saved from using integrated attachment for the full armor, the FA-78-3 development team decided they would just build a beam rifle 4 times the size to provide the double range and double output. While this means the dorsal long-distance beam cannon is not even the most powerful ranged beam weapon carried by Federation mobile suit in one-year war, nor does it have the longest range, it does have a very good balance of power, range of fire, and shots. This weapon alone provides Full Armor Gundam 7 the firepower of a destroyer ship, since the RX-78 beam rifle rifles the firepower of a ship's main gun. In addition, the dorsal long-distance beam cannon has its own targeting system, allowing it to engage target independently from Full Armor Gundam 7 fire control system, or in tandem for pinpoint accuracy. Despite its long development cycle, the only known combat record of Full Armor Gundam 7 is that one time that it was sent with a strike team on a Pegasus-class assault carrier to recapture the mass accelerator on the Moon, which was hijacked by Zeon remnants. The Zeon remnants threatened to use the mass accelerator to destroy major cities and military bases on Earth by launching heavy cargoes at hypersonic speed, effectively creating artificial meteor strikes. Full Armor Gundam 7 and the strike team managed to subdue all the Zeon remnants, hijacking the mass accelerator, but one payload had started its launching sequence already. Gundam 7 shattered its full armor during the battle, along with the Pegasus-class assault carrier, managed to damage the mass accelerator and change the payload's trajectory to not hit the ground on Earth. The payload was broken and burned up in the atmosphere, creating a meteor shower, and the incident was named Tears Rain Down. While Full Armor Gundam 7 was successful and survived its first and only deployment, it pretty much disappeared from the Federation's arsenal afterwards. Some suspect this is because the Tears Rain Down incident led to the Federation initiating the Gundam project, where a new generation of RX-78 was developed, with GP as their codename and added to their model number as a suffix. The RX-78 GP series was being purged from Federation records after the Stardust incident, so background materials related to that could have been purged as well. Either way, Full Armor Gundam 7 effect mobile suit development for the rest of Universal Century like other RX-78. Integrating external system as part of the mobile suit's design, the use of tail stabilizer as well as multifunction binders. Thanks for watching.